Do you ever look around and think, wow, the world is a crazy place, and it just seems to get crazier and crazier? Ease your mind and take a break. This is Fuel for the Soul with John Giftah. We're a hub for inspirational Christian sermons, practical keys for Christian living, and Christian discussions and interviews. You'll be inspired to live the life that you were created for. Your host is a top-ranking podcaster, best-selling author, world record holder, aerospace engineer, life coach, evangelist, and founder of John Giftah International. Welcome to Fuel for the Soul with John Giftah.
You can just share, like, what is heaven like to a person who has no clue what heaven is like?
So I think one of the big misconceptions of heaven is that it's somehow less real than this place.
Mm-hmm.
And that is the opposite of what every near-death experiencer tells me. They say, no, this is the shadow. That's the real thing. And by the way, interestingly, in Hebrews chapter 8, it says that God had Moses construct the tabernacle out of something real in heaven, and the tabernacle was just a shadow, a copy of the real thing in heaven. So imagine, so this is the best way, and this is what I'm trying to get people to do through the books I've written and the podcasting and all that, is to imagine heaven more accurately, right? So imagine all the beauty, all the wonders, all the pleasurable, enjoyable experiences we've had on this earth. Well, we enjoy them and they are pleasurable because God created us to be able to, right? And all the beauty we see is a gift from God. And yet this world is marred. Romans chapter 8 says all creation is groaning. It's laboring, like in childbirth, under the birth pangs of disease and death and famine and misfortune. So sin has entered and God remains somewhat hidden, and he lets human free will rule. And as a result, we experience a tiny taste of heaven and a tiny taste of hell. And both are far greater in wonder and far greater in horror than you can imagine. So the best thing when you think about heaven is think about all the things you love here, but magnified. And that's what people have told me. So like Dr. Mary Neal, this spine surgeon whose kayak was pinned under the waterfall, you can hear her story in the podcast as well. She said, I went from alive to even more alive, from conscious to more conscious. And several of them, Dr. Neal, this Captain Dale Black, the airline pilot, I asked him at one point, I said, so do you realize you're dead? And they both kind of chuckle and go, well, at that point, I kind of thought, I guess I'm dead. Because they didn't feel dead, they felt more alive. And Jesus said this, by the way, Jesus last night on earth in John chapter 14, he says to his close friends, I'm going to prepare a place for you. Trust in God, trust also in me. I'm going to prepare a place for you. There are many rooms in my Father's home, right? And I will come and get you, and you will always be with me where I am. And Jesus said, God is not the God of the dead. He's the God of the living, right? And when people, so some of the commonalities when people die is they enter into paradise, which, by the way, near-death experiencers say, what Jesus said to the thief on the cross, today you'll be with me in paradise, is actually the outside, the suburbs outside the holy city of God. It's the place most like earth. And many come there first to kind of acclimate. But it's very much like earth. It's beauty, it's mountains, it's trees, it's streams, it's valleys, it's water, animals, people, There are hugs. There's this great reunion, this welcoming committee, usually of friends and relatives who have died before us. And they come to us and we hug. We remember. We still have our memories. We still have our humor. We are ourselves. In fact, John, one of the things that's just most amazing to me is how themselves people feel in the presence of Jesus or this God of light, the Father. And they describe how in heaven, you don't think of them as Father, Son, and Holy Spirit. They're just one. Even though still they see Jesus and they see the Father on the throne and they know the Holy Spirit is with them always. They experience the Trinity, but there is an understanding that of there's just one God that isn't confusing there like it is here. And the thing that they say most commonly is that it is life, but it's life without all that's wrong here. And so Jesus said all these things. He said there's going to be responsibility. Some of you are going to govern nations. His disciples, you're going to sit on 12 thrones governing over the 12 tribes of Israel, but others are going to govern nations. Some are going to care for animals. Others, maybe you're creative. You're going to create songs that are going to be sung in heaven. There's music that people talk about as like music on an otherworldly dimension. They talk about the colors of heaven and how vivid everything is. So it's like, imagine the greatest beauty you've seen on earth, but multiply it by 1,000. Colors beyond our color spectrum. Dale Black said to me, we have like green and blue and red and yellow, but now take blue and imagine 1,000 shades of blue and you can see them all clearly, vividly. And that's the color spectrum, but far beyond colors we can't even describe on earth. And they consistently say this. And then a life to all of nature. Interestingly, Christians in America have kind of pushed away this idea of oneness, right? And that's more of a Hindu concept. But the truth is there is truth. God has left evidence of truth all around the globe for everyone who will seek him, right? I mean, even in the Vedas, I've read in the Vedas about the Purush Prajapati who would come in the form of a man to die for the remission of karma, get off the cycle of samsara. Well, that's salvation, right? So, I mean, there are traces of the one true God everywhere.
You've been listening to Fuel for the Soul with John Giftah. We hope you were blessed and inspired to live the life that God has for you. Make sure to subscribe to the John Giftah YouTube channel for regular uploads of sermons, skits, interviews, and more. Follow John Giftah on Instagram for regular inspirational posts. And don't forget to check out the best-selling books written by John Giftah, Who Am I?, which will help you understand your identity, and the latest #1 bestseller, Unveil Your Purpose, helping you discover your purpose and to start walking in it. Make sure to leave a rating and review, and be sure to share it with your friends and loved ones. If you'd like to donate, you can find the PayPal link in the description. And if you'd like to invite John Giftah to speak at your event or to get more details, go to the website at www.johngiftah.com. See you on the next episode of The Fuel for the Soul with John Giftah. God bless you.